supposed to be a pink prairie dog pyramid. It's alliterative.
You said a tower. Why do you keep changing everything?
I'm not changing anything. You said pyramid.
You are driving me crazy.
And that's how you two sound to us.
What? I sound nothing like that, and I'm not nearly as flamboyant.
I don't know. Seems pretty spot on to me, Wonder Woman. I, on the other hand, sound much more masculine and mastered the form of proper speech.
Mastered the form of proper speech? Don't make me laugh. Every time you open your mouth, I wish that I wouldn't know what the fox says.
At least my mom isn't called sauerkraut.
You leave my mother out of this, you Sonic the Hedgehog character.
Oh, it is on.
No biting! No biting!
Du schmeckst scheiße!
Nimm das! Matzerfressener Bettvorleger!
Okay, let's talk about the positive things first. I think this episode is actually one of the better paced ones. We hardly waste any time on exposition here. The map says, go to Les Pegasus, and they go to Les Pegasus. Not to mention that we finally get to see that city, or at least a bit of it. Ever since the map of Equestria was revealed years ago, we know that this place exists and pretty much everyone wanted to see it. I mean, it's Vegas, baby! And the map doesn't feel as wasted as it did in Spice Up Your Life. We want to use this map to see new places after all, and not revisit places we already seen a million times. Fluttershy is also one of this episode's highlights. She is the most reasonable and even manages to play along with the whole impersonate impossible rich thing without a freak out, as you would expect her to do in prior episodes. She also got used to Las Pegasus rather fast, and in the end is actually the one that does most of the work. I pointed out something similar in my Who Feed and McCall review. Like in that episode, she could have solved this problem on her own. Think about it. What did Applejack do in this episode? It boils down to refusing to help Flim and Flam. Okay, thanks to her stubbornness she did learn that the other ponies also have problems, but I'm pretty sure that if they helped those two from the get-go, they would have uncovered Gladman's shady tactics sooner or later. It might take a bit longer, but that's about it. The only other thing AJ does is to convince Flim and Flam that she speaks the truth. How did she do that again?
And if I'm telling you he said it, you know it's the absolute truth because
You never lie.
Oh yeah, in the most pretentious way possible. Seriously, who speaks like that?
this is your sister Applejack, remember? The loyalest of friends and the most dependable of ponies?
Applejack, apparently. Okay, I admit it bugs me more than it should, but let's talk a bit about Applejack. We usually take her as one of the humbler members of the main six, but quotes like these make me question that. It actually makes her a bit more ego-driven than Rainbow Dash. In fact, quotes like these sounds like something Rainbow Dash would say and people would probably call her out on it. Now, think of her stubbornness. AJ thinks she does the right thing, and it's very hard to convince her otherwise. What I'm getting at is that Applejack thinks of herself as a paragon of virtue. She literally thinks that she can't be wrong, which is probably why she is so stubborn in the first place. To her credit, she really tries to live up to her standards, and episodes like the last Roundup show what happens when she doesn't live up to those virtues, but it makes me question, does she feel bad because she let her friends down, or does she feel bad because she can't live up to her own standards, which hurts her pride. She is also rather fast to judge ponies. She is often the first one to suspect someone of shady behavior. More often than not she seems to have a point, but I can't help to think that she might jump a bit fast to conclusions. This gives her a bit of an holier-than-thou attitude. In other words, she sure likes being on the moral high ground. And back to the claim that she never lies. Now that statement is a lie in itself. She's a bad liar, okay, but she still lies. Not to mention that she helps Flim and Flam so they can lie to Gladman. And in the main attraction she encourages Rara to lie to Swan Gallop. Encouraging other people to lie is not exactly honest either. Of course, AJ never lies for personal gain, she only lies to protect her friends' feelings or to help. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem with that. However, it does annoy me that they treat Applejack never lies as an absolute fact in this episode. It's not really true and it sounds pretentious, but most importantly, it really stings like lazy writing to me. It reduces Applejack to an element of harmony, and it is all it takes to convince Flim and Flam. Okay, they do know about Applejack's honesty. They even use their reputation as an honest pony for their own gain, so it's not so bad that they come to this conclusion. But the way AJ alludes to her honesty could have been phrased much better. Why doesn't she reason with them and say something like, "I hate your guts, but I have no reason to lie to you"? Something like that. And here's the next thing. AJ didn't help Flim and Flam because it was the right thing to do. Oh no, she helped them because she needed their help to trick Ladman. Fluttershy even comments later on that it was a good thing that AJ didn't want to help Flim and Flam right away. Now, that's a mixed message. I can understand why AJ doesn't want to help them. After Leap of Faith, I don't blame her. But I have seen something similar handled much better in the IDW comics, or more precisely, Friends Forever #9, featuring the Flim Flam brothers and Granny Smith. Granny Smith acts hostile towards them, understandably so, but as soon as she learns about their breakup and why, she does everything to help them back together. Applebloom even questions that in the end, but Granny has a pretty good answer.
Well, Applebloom, I reckon that my family and friends are the most important things in our lives. Sometimes folks need help being reminded of that. Even ones as shady as them Flim Flam brothers. Oh, them rasky scallions. Oh, I want to punch them.
Now that's a pretty good message I can support. Now what was the lesson in this episode? The best solution is to trick a trickster? Well, I'm Tricky Fox, that's what I do, but Applejack never genuinely wanted to help Flim and Flam. She doesn't need to forgive them, but she only helps them to reach an end goal. And I do wonder if they really needed them for the job. AJ basically put the same trick on Sven Gallop without the Flim Flam brothers, so it's not a buffer to trick some pony on her own. But besides that, the plan to trick him wasn't that great. It started out alright, and it was a nice twist that their first attempt to fool Gladmane failed and that they expected it to fail. However, what about their endgame? What would have Fluttershy and Applejack done if Gladman stayed at his table while he was gloating? If you want to record someone, make sure to set up your own equipment first and don't hope that he leaves his own speaker unsupervised. And now let's talk about Gladman and his employees. How did he get their trust that fast? It is basically stated that they were fighting each other shortly after they came to Les Pegasus. Flim and Flam are maybe the most glaring example. I wouldn't turn on my brother only because a guy I met a couple of days ago said my brother doesn't think highly of me, no matter how nice the guy seems. And what would Gladman do if his employees would sit down and talk things over, like reasonable people would? Or even better, what if someone quits because they refuse to work with a person they fight all day? Of course, this is MLP we are talking about, and ponies are rather easy to manipulate as they seemingly are unable to think for themselves. Anyway, I better wrap things up. Despite what you might think by now, I don't hate this episode. I actually enjoyed seeing Flim and Flam again. The Siegfried and Roy ponies also got a chuckle out of me, and Fluttershy really establishes herself as my favorite pony at this point. And I might sound a bit harsh when it comes to Applejack, but I just had to get it out. I mean, people say Rainbow Dash had it bad this season, but Applejack had it arguably worse. I really hope that the next AJ episode wins me over like the main attraction did. I actually think this episode isn't that bad, but there are just a few minor things that piled up and bother me to no end. But what about you? Did you like this episode? Anything that bothered you? Do you want me to review Friends Forever #9? Let me know in the comments. I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes you can be too smart for you're